Welcome to the second day of Trailblazer DX. I hope you've been enjoying the day yesterday. How was it? Good? Awesome. So today I'm going to talk about how you can get started with development on Salesforce. I'll show you what are the different things that you do at a very high level, and also show you the path on how can you get started. Before I start, how many times did you see this slide yesterday? A lot of times, I know. And it's also difficult to read. So let me say what is there in that. So we are a publicly traded company, and we are doing a lot of things which are in beta, pilot, and all. So if you are making any purchase decisions, please base your decisions only on what are generally available. Before I start, let me also introduce myself. I'm Satya Sekhar. I'm a developer advocate. So as part of my role, I motivate developers to build on Salesforce Platform. Oh, sorry. OK, in today's session, I'm going to cover it in 4 major areas. One is how do you create the applications? And the second one is how you visualize the data. When I say create the applications, building from the scratch. Visualize the data means how can you see the data in the graphical user interface, and how you can automate processes. And finally, I'll show you the tools that a developer can use to build on this platform. So let's start with creating the applications. This is the fundamental part for any app which you build on any platform. So let's see, what does it take to build let me refresh this page once. So what does it take to build applications on any platform? A bunch of tools that you need to install for creating the development environment where we can develop the applications. Then a runtime environment where you can run the applications. And a set of infrastructure services, network services, and a lot more. But when you build on Salesforce Platform, all of this provided to you out of the box by the platform. But still, this slide looks a little complex to me. Most of the tools and features that I have mentioned here are over my head, I would say. So what I'm more interested in, rather than putting all my efforts and energy in just setting up the things and then working on it, why not if all of these things are provided for me and I only focus on my business logic? So let's simplify this diagram a little bit. And this is what I'll be working on. As an admin or developer, we need to focus only on what to build, on our business logic. We do not really care about how the security is implemented, how the infrastructure is implemented. It's all taken care of by the platform. OK, so let's see how we create the applications. This is how an app looks like generally. Now imagine you are building an app like Amazon Shopping, or you are building an app like some kind of Netflix. So what do you see when you open the app? You see a home page, and then you navigate through various pages where you probably select the products and then or put those products in your cart and then pay it off. That's what you do, right? So this is how a Salesforce application looks like. It also has an app. You can have a home page, and you can have multiple pages there. But in Salesforce terminology, we call these multiple pages as tabs. So a page in general places can be called as a tab in Salesforce. Now, what does an application have? We have a Lightning app, and Lightning app will consist of a number of tabs. But it's not just Lightning app and tab that makes an application. We'll have to bring together some kind of data. There should be an user interface, and there should be security for your data. All of these things, again, are provided by Salesforce in different ways. So how do you store data in Salesforce? We use something called as S objects. If you have already seen in some other technology. Maybe if you have used Excel, or wherever you would have used some kind of relational database, a table. A table is equivalent to a subject in Salesforce. And these S objects can have fields, formulas, and a set of validation rules. So you can also apply validation rules and formulas. For instance, date of birth cannot be a future date. It should only be a past date. And then you have Lightning pages and page layouts, which are provided out of the box, with which you can show the user interface. OK, I'll be talking a little bit of theory, but more practical things. We'll see all of these things in detail. But then there are two types of components, standard components, custom components. Whatever you see in Salesforce Platform are either provided by the platform itself, or you're building something by yourself. So whatever is provided by platform, we call them as standard components. And whatever you are building by yourself, those are the custom components. Maybe it's app, there will be a standard app and a custom app. Page, there will be a standard page and custom page. And we can provide security at different levels of granularity. You may want to provide security at the table level, that is a subject level. You can provide it using profiles. Maybe you want to provide security at the record level. You can do that. At various levels of granularity, you can provide the security. Now, what are page layouts? Page layouts, as I said, they are used to organize the data. In a way, you can show the data in the usable form. So it provides out of the box. But if you want to build your own custom pages, you can tailor the Lightning pages. There are pages which are already available, where you can put your own components in your own way to display it in the user-required fashion. And then you can also slice and dice the data that you are going to use. Like you can create reports and dashboards for analytics. So most of the things I talked about so far are like standard things. They are provided out of the box. But if you want to create your own automation, let us say, you have a tool called Flow. We'll talk in detail about that tool. And you can also write complex business logic using Apex. You can also create some customized user interfaces using Lightning Web Components. So let's see an example on how you can create an app, object, and how you can configure those things. So today I'll be using a tool called Code Builder. I can use Code Builder or Visual Studio Code. I'll give a detailed explanation of what is the fundamental difference between these two types of tools. But we are going to use the Code Builder, which is a development environment, wherein these two are like one of the environments can be run on desktop. The other environment can be run on web browser. So this Code Builder is an environment that can be run on the web browser. So here it is loading. But while it loads, let me explain what are the different things in Code Builder. On the left side, you'll be seeing an activity bar where you can launch a separate icon. Maybe I want to see a set of files. I can click the File Explorer. It is going to launch that activity here in a sidebar. And then the central area is where you are going to work on your files and launch the tools, so on and so forth. So here you can see the activity bar, as I said. And this is the sidebar where you can see the files. And here is where you're going to write your code. Anyway, we'll see how the application works first, and then we'll see the code. Sorry for the network delay issue. It's a little slow. Once it loads, we should all be good. Just let's allow a second for it. And meanwhile, so long. Just give me a second. It should be up in any moment. Oh, okay. Yeah. In fact, I need not log in here. I'm trying to log in from there, but I can directly launch it from my code builder once it is ready. OK, it is opening now. There we go. Now let me open one of the apps. As I said, for today's demo, I'm going to use an app called Dreamhouse app. How many of you used Trailhead DX before? Oh, sorry, Trailhead before. Yes, you would have seen this app many times in some of the badges, where Dreamhouse is an app where we have different properties for sale, and there will be brokers who will be assigned to the property through whom we can purchase the property. So we are going to use that app and see how that app is built. So this is the Dreamhouse app, where you can see the app name here, and then you can see a bunch of tabs. So as I said, these tabs are the pages. Now let's see how this app is built. To build the app, you can click the setup icon, and when you click the setup icon, it's going to launch various tools that you can use to build anything on the Salesforce platform. Let me click the setup icon. On the left side, you can see a lot of tools here. The tool that we can use for building the app is called as App Manager. So App Manager, so most of the tools that you use in Salesforce are all wizard-driven. It's like a step-by-step process in which you build the application. For instance, here you can see a lot of applications that are already available. As I said, these apps are provided as a standard apps out of the box by the platform, while you can build your own app. So we have built the Dreamhouse app, but if you want to build your own app, you can click this new Lightning app button. And here you can see a 4-step process, 5-step process, where you can give the app details, like what should be the app name, developer name, and what is the logo that you might want to use. And then you can also give what are the options, like what are the different types of utilities that you want to show in the app, and what are the pages you want to add, so on and so forth. So I'm not going to build all of these things. It's already built for us. So I've created a app here, Dreamhouse app, which we can use for our demos. So let's see this app. Now, we have given an app name. In fact, we have used the Lightning App Builder, Lightning App Manager to build the app. We have given a name. We have selected what are the pages that we want in the app there, and the app is created for us. Now let's open one of the pages here. Let us say properties page, where you can see a list of properties. So property is a S-object, right? Again, how do you build S-object? You can go to the setup, and here you can see home, where you can see a lot of tools, as I said before. And there is something called as object manager, where you can create an object. As I said, S-object in Salesforce is equal to table in any other database, right? You can create an object, again, by using create button. It's again a set of steps that you give, say, create custom object. You just fill in the details here. What is the name of the object? What should be the key identifier, like record name of the object, how you identify the records and stuff. You give all of this information here in the object manager. Now let's go and see what we have in our property object, because we are currently dealing with the property object. When you see the property object, whatever object you give, it creates here are the object details that I've given in the very first page. When I use the object manager and create the object, these are the details I provide. Okay? And these are the fields and relationships, wherein it provides some of the fields out of the box as standard fields, like created date, like created by, created date. All of these fields are provided as a standard field, but you can create your own set of fields. Now, how do you configure this app? Let's go to the app once again, open one of the properties, whichever property we like. Now, here it shows the detailed information of the property. It shows us the property name, address, state, etc. Now, I don't see any city here. I want to add a city field to my page there. How do I do that? So far, we know Lightning App Manager is used to build the app, and Object Manager is used to build the object. Now, to make these changes, we can use a tool called Lightning App Builder. So again, you can go to Setup and launch the tool, or most of the tools in Salesforce can be launched out of context. So currently, I'm working on the page here. So I can click the setup button here and simply say edit page. So when I click edit page, it is going to launch the Lightning App Builder. Now I know I want to add a field here in these details. On the left side, you can see a set of standard components. So these are the components which can provide some kind of functionality for you. Maybe you want to show a report. There is a component for report. You can drag and drop the component here. Similarly, the new thing is we have something called as dynamic fields. So it gets all the fields that are there in the object in the Lightning App Builder. Now, whichever field you want to use, you can drag and drop that field into the page. Now, let us say I want to use city here. So I can drag and drop the city here in this page. Okay, and let us save it. Now it is saved. Let's go back and see the property object detail page. So here you can see city now. We have just added the city field. So basically, you can build the object and you can define the fields, whatever fields you want to use, and whenever you want for whichever user, you can drag and drop the fields and show the fields in the user interface. This is how you can configure the objects. Now going back to the presentation, we know how to create the objects and configure the fields. The next thing we are going to see is how you can visualize the data. So how you can create the user interfaces in a nice way that you can visualize the data in a easily usable form. This experience you are seeing day in, day out if you have already used the Salesforce app anytime. You have this experience where you can see the user interface, which is called as Lightning experience. And if you see, there are a lot of components in this experience. All of these components either provided standard by the platform itself, or you would have built it. Okay? So if you want to build your own custom components, how do you do that? So this is how the Lightning Web Component framework works. So what are Lightning Web Components? They are the components that are built by us, custom components, or even by the platform where we are internally using the Lightning Web Components, which is a framework, open standard framework, which is based on modern web standards. So you build everything using HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. So in this framework, it provides something called as base components, some fundamental components out of the box, like say for input or a button. So all these kind of components, it is provided as a base components, and we can combine these base components to create experience components. When I say experience components, those are components which can provide some kind of functionality. As I said before, you might want to use reports in your page. So you use an experience component there. So these base components, as I said, are input and all, are the fundamental components. We have like 85 plus base components that you can use. And there are more than 50 plus standard components you can directly use. If the functionality is not done by those standard components, then you can create your own custom components. Okay, so and you can use all of these experience components to create the pages and then customize in whatever way you want, as we just saw how to customize. So as I said, we have these three types of components. One is standard components, and the second one is the pre-built components. So standard components are provided by out of the box, and you can also get some of the Lightning Web Components from App Exchange. You can get the components from App Exchange and use it. Those components are called as pre-built components. Or you can create your own custom components. Why should we use Lightning Web Components? So as I said, Lightning Web Components is based on the web standards, modern web standards. There are many other technologies. They have their own way of creating the user interfaces. But all of those technologies, most of the times, use a lot of JavaScript. Right? Most of the framework is implemented using the JavaScript. When those functionalities are provided by the web itself, browser itself, why not use the functionality that is provided by the browser? So Lightning Web Components is built on those functionalities. So whatever functionalities are available in the browser, we are not going to reinvent the wheel. Those functionalities we can use directly from the browser. So what is the net effect? You are going to get an efficient user interface. The performance will be much better than any other front-end user interfaces. So that's why we use the Lightning Web Components. Now again, let's see a demo on how to use the Lightning Web Components. Here we'll be using the Dreamhouse app once again. Now we saw a page where we have seen the details of the product, right? Real estate home product. We have some product called architectural details, which is situated at Boston, so on and so forth, which is good so far. How about create a rich user interface? So I'll show you another page here called Property Explorer page, where on the left side you can see a filter, right, where you can search for a specific property. You can filter it based on a price. So I have a good slider here. I have slided it to like only 7 lakh. So I got the properties within 700,000. Okay? And then I have a set of bedrooms, bathrooms. I can adjust all of these things based on which it's going to show me the results. And I can click one of the component here. And there you can see the details of the component in another component. All of these 3 components are built using Lighting Web Components, a custom components which are built by ourselves. Okay? Now let's see how these components are built. Now if you see the filter component, you can go to the Lighting App Builder and see the component name. So when I select this component, I can see it is a property filter component. Let's go to our code builder here. And we can close all of these things. Let us open the property filter component. OK, I have opened property filter component. Here, you can see a lighting input component. There's a component called lighting input component. I haven't created lighting input component. I know there is nothing like lighting input component in HTML. I'm not using any HTML element there. In fact, I can use HTML elements within my lighting web components. So there is a lighting input component. This is provided, again, as a base component. I was talking about experience components are built using the base components. And we have just seen one of the experience components there. So that experience component is built using the lighting input base component. There are other lighting slider. There are other base components there. Right? So how do you learn about the base components? You can go, let me open, let us search for lighting LWC base components. That's it. And you can go to the component library. And this is the component library where you can find all of the base components. Now we have used the lighting input base component. So I just want to see the input base component. Let's go and select the input base component. And here you can see the input base components. There is an example. There is documentation, like how to use it, what are the functionalities. And there's also specification. So every component, like now if you take any HTML element also, HTML element can have some attributes. Similarly, these custom components, how do you send the values to the component? How to, like let us say I want to give the input. I want whatever a user types in should be displayed there. How does it know? We send it to the component in the form of attribute. So we can say, we can give the component name as, say, lighting input and send an attribute in the form of, say, value equal to something. That's how we give it, right? So how do you know all of the specification? Again, you can see the specification here. And the good part about the component builder is like these component libraries, lighting component libraries, you can try it here itself. Now let us say here we have lighting input component. I was telling this component can take some attributes, like type is an attribute. It's a type, text type input. Then label is an attribute, so on and so forth, right? So you can try all of these things here itself. There is a dynamic playground. Here you can see the output for the component, enter some text. What I will do is, I'll make the changes here. I'll simply say name. And you can see it dynamically shows the value here, even before I write the code. So what I can do is, I can simply copy the code from here and then paste the code in my actual code, actual file, and use it. So you can go and refer to any of the base components, whatever, and use it in your code. Right? OK. This is how you can create a basic lighting web components page. Now let's see what are other things that you can do with the lighting platform. Again, let's go to the slide deck. The next thing we are going to see is how you can automate the process. So what is automation? So any user who is sitting in front of the computer, he might be doing some routine tasks daily. You might want to make those repetitive tasks easy to do, rather than doing every step by himself every day. So that can be done by some kind of automation process. Or imagine you are using the Amazon shopping website. So you search for a product, add the product to the cart, and then you check out. After that, you probably get a mail confirming that your order is placed, or you get an SMS. How do you get that? That is an automation process. So you can do a lot of automation things. Salesforce provides a variety, a set of tools for the automation. So maybe it provides tools for the engagement, like you can use Slack for collaboration, or you can use screen flows, wherein you can create some kind of automation, as I said, like the repetitive task that a user does. If you want to do it in the back end by the platform itself, you can use some kind of screen flows there. And also it provides some pre-built assets. Now it also provides some of the screen flows or whatever flows which are already defined, which does some specific set of functionality. You can directly use those flows here. In the form of libraries, they are provided to use. And some things like, let us say you want to do an integration. It provides a HTTP callout that you can do right from your flow, okay, in the form of an action. Maybe you have written something in Apex class. You want to use it as an action here. As a complex logic which is written in Apex, you want to use it in flow. You can do all of that using pre-built assets. And it also provides some MuleSoft adapters with which you can connect to any kind of integration to get data from any of the sources. So there, and also, just not that, you can also monitor. Once you create the flow, you can also see how the flow works. You can debug the flow and make any changes to the flow. Let's see how to create the flows. And one more thing in this slide is you can work on any kind of real-time data with your flows. Now, flows also supports the real-time data. If you are already thinking about flows, flows is a very powerful tool, then you are totally right. And if you started mastering flows, I would say you are already a developer. Because when you start writing the flows, you see all of the things that we do as a code, as a developer, we can also do in the flow as an administrator. So let's see a quick demo on how to use the flows. Now again, let us go back to the org. Let us see the same property explorer page. Let us go back to the page. I'm in the Lightning App Builder here. So let's go back to the page. And if you see the Property Explorer page, at the bottom, you see a component called Create Property. Now let's give a name here. Let us say Simple Property. And this is not a basic subject. It's basically a user interface, a user experience that we have created. So I have a simple property. I can give some description, say nice property, whatever. I can select the broker here, some broker name. I can give some price. Let's keep it there. And let me say next. Now, I have done one step, and I have gone to the next step, where I'm giving further details. I'm giving some address here. I'm giving some city name. So Boston, I can give some postal code, country, and all. Say next. Now, I'll say finish. It creates a property for me, which is good. It has created a property. I can go to the properties page, and I can see the property defined here. That's all fine. I can refresh the page and see the property. But then, how is this implemented? So let's go to the flow and see how that flow looks like. Let me see if that flow is already open. OK, let us open the flow. You can go to the setup, and you can search for flow to see what are the flows that are available in your org. So here you can see flows. There are different flows that you can use. Again, there are some standard flows that are available. There are custom flows that I have created. Now let's see the flow that we have just used to create the property. So this is a flow which creates the property for us. A lot of steps, right? The steps that we have. So wherein we can create a screen. Let us open the screen. And here you can see that we have dragged and dropped. So there are input properties here on the left side. We have dragged and dropped all of those things, given some name, and started using it. So you can create screen for every step. Okay? Here for this step, we have created a screen where we have given property name, so on and so forth. Not only that, you can drag and drop and create these screens and then connect these screens so that it will come step after step. And here you can see that I've used an Apex action. I said you can also use the actions here. When I click this, you can see it is using an action. In fact, it is using a class which says geocode address. So basically, it is getting the latitude and longitude of the house through Apex class. I cannot do that latitude and longitude thing from the flow. It is a complex thing. So I'll have to implement a logic to understand what is latitude and longitude of that place. So I have used the Apex class there. So let's go and quickly see what we have in that Apex class. So this is the Apex class, and here I have written logic. In fact, we are not really going to bother about the logic at this moment, but this logic gets you the latitude and longitude. But then how you are making whatever Apex class you write to be available in the flow as an action. For that, what you do is you use something called as invocable action. Here you define an annotation called invocable method, and in that method, you are telling that its callout is true. It's going to make a callout, and it's going to get latitude and longitude, and you're giving a label which is more important. It says geocode space address. This is the label. This is how you find it in your flows when you define the flow. So here you are telling geocode address. This is the label with which you identify that Apex class and using it as an action here. So you can drag and drop the screen components, you can drag and drop actions, you can drag and drop other components to build any kind of complex flow. Okay. Is it interesting? Yes or no? Not so? Good, awesome. In fact, this is a beginner session and I'm trying to cover so many things. It's at a very high level, but my intention here is to make you understand these are the different capabilities that you have in the platform with which you can get started easily. Now, the last thing we are going to see, and the most important thing, is developer experience. Now you are building so many things. We'll wrap up in next 1 minute. We'll be doing so many things, right? As a developer, when you start building on the platform, you should be equipped with proper set of tools. So today I'm going to talk about 2 important tools. One is VS Code, the other one is Code Builder. You have already used me, you already saw me using the Code Builder tool, where we can run the environment right from your browser. So in the browser, I logged into my org, I launched it as a package from the app launcher, and I started using the Code Builder. You can use that. Or if you want to write the code on your desktop, you can install VS Code in your desktop, and then you can add the Salesforce extensions plugin. Okay, it's not there. And you can add the Salesforce extension plugin within your VS Code or even in your Code Builder. So there is something called as Salesforce extensions, which has all the tools, whether to write Apex class, whether to write even Visual Force pages or your latest Lightning Web Components. You can do all of this stuff in your Visual Studio Code or Code Builder environment. Okay? And it also comes with inbuilt CLI if you want to run the CLI commands as well. So you can use this tool wherever you want, and the beautiful part is it comes with the latest Einstein things, right, where you can automatically generate the code. Imagine you're just getting started, you don't know how to write the code. If you can ask your development environment to generate a code for you and it generates for you, how does it look like? Will it be interesting? Yes, right? So what we'll do is we'll quickly see that in action. So I'll show you at least 2 tools very quickly. Okay, here I'm in Code Builder environment once again. As I said, we can launch the command palette from here. You can go to View and launch the command palette, or you can also use the shortcut keys. If you're using Mac, you can say Command-Shift-P, it launches the palette, or Control-Shift-P on Windows. So what is this command palette? Here you can type the commands, different kinds of commands. Now let us say I want to build a SOQL query. So I can say SOQL and click Create Query in SOQL Builder. Now I don't know what are the objects that are there in my org, so I can go and just click here. You can see all the objects that are available in the org. Now, the object that we were working with was property. So let me search for property very quickly, and I can select property here. And in this property, these are the different fields. I don't know what fields are there, but I can see all the fields here. Now, let us say I want to select the property name. Okay, I also want to select the property city. I also want to select the property price. Right? These are the 3 different properties I've selected. And on the right side, you can see it is automatically building a SOQL query for me. You need not really worry about how to build the SOQL query. Okay? So when I run the query, you can see the results right here, which you can export using a CSV file for your analytics. Or if you're doing an integration, you can also export it as a JSON file. So you can build the SOQL query dynamically by yourself using something called as SOQL Builder. Okay? Not only that, I was also telling that you can also generate the code. Let me do that for you. Let me close all of these things. And this is the last thing we are going to see. So here on the left side in the activity bar, I was talking, you can see a new icon, which you are seeing a lot in this event, right? Einstein. You can click this Einstein icon, which in fact launches a tool for you here, where you can run the query. So let me type a query. I'm saying create a class called properties. It should have a method called getContactNames. And this property should get all the contacts who are interested in that property. Now I'm asking it to generate a Apex class for me so that I can use it. So I just typed in my prompt there. And I say simply ask. Let's see what it does. Here you can see that it has created a class for me altogether. Right? It has created a SOQL query, which is getting the properties of all the contacts with the properties of interest, and it is putting, and I can directly use that class. Maybe if I want, I might want to make a small set of tweaks, and I can use the class. Is it interesting? Yes? Cool. That's not it. One last thing I'm going to show you, I'll clear it. One of the major pain points for most of the developers is creating the test classes. We know it's Salesforce, which runs in a multi-tenant architecture. So we should be careful about the resources. So whatever Apex classes you write, it should have 75% of test coverage. Now that is the most important. We don't use that code anywhere, but still we'll have to write it, right? Because we want to create the test coverage. Now, how about asking the Einstein to generate a test class for the properties of interest class that we have just created? So let's say ask. Let's see what it does. There you can see that it has created a very nice test class, very long class, which otherwise you should have written all of these things in your class. It has created a test class with all the required data for it. Cool. So how do you get started with all of these things? DevOps Center, I'll skip for now, but there's a tool called DevOps Center where an admin can work with the developer lifecycle, where he can use the repository, push the code, get the code, and all of that stuff. And developer can also do it using your coding tools right here. And you can learn all about DevOps Center through our roadmap here. So rather, you can scan that, go to that link. And one more important link here where I've showed the resources, where you can take a photo of that and you can access the resources.